Hey all, Hibber here, welcome back to the channel, and I'm sure you're as excited as I am to actually play Age of Empires Mobile. And obviously the game is available now, at least on the Apple shop, the App Store, and you can download it for iPad or your iPhone. Now most of the footage I'm showing here is shot on my M1 iPad. So if you haven't played Age of Empires games before, there is a tutorial. It takes about 10 minutes, and if you haven't played one of these games before, it's probably a good idea. But on the other hand, there's nothing really too difficult in this game, at least so far, and I've played a few hours now. So even if you decide to skip the tutorial, you will be fine. So quickly, the tutorial just teaches you how to move your units around the map, how to attack other units, and of course how to build and upgrade your little cities, right? That's of course one of the main points of this game here. You will soon realize as the tutorial moves on that upgrading buildings and your pikemen and whatnot is very important, and as in most mobile games it tends to be perhaps a little bit too important, right? If you ever played the original Age of Empires games, you will know that sure, upgrading your stuff is important, but there's a lot of other stuff that's also important. Now here in this iteration of the game, that other stuff seems to have been dialed down at least a little bit, and the, what shall we call it, mobile mechanics have taken perhaps over just a little bit too much. But it's still not a huge minus on this game. So far it seems pretty good, and at least a lot better than I was expecting. The core of the game is the same as any Age of Empire game before it. It is, build a city, train, warriors and villagers, and expand your empire, and of course fight enemies, and of course pick berries. So there's nothing really too surprising here, and the game isn't too hard to get to grips with. Like I said earlier, everything is kind of self-explanatory, and any of the more detailed systems are saved for later. So what I'm showing here is all before you get to even chapter 2, and the beginning of the game is divided into chapters, and once you get to chapter 2, that's where the game kind of lets you off the rails a little bit. Now, part of the gameplay loop is to take your ship and go to islands and actually fight enemies. Now this seems a little bit odd considering that Age of Empires is really all about fighting enemies, right? So I don't know how or why this has to be a separate thing, but for now it seems to be like this. And so far the strategic decisions in here are pretty limited, but it's probably because I'm not that far ahead in the game yet. But still, I don't really understand this mechanic here and why it is in the game, but perhaps that'll be clearer as I raise in levels. So as with any mobile game, you are expected to recruit heroes, and as usual you can get free heroes, and you can get legendary heroes that usually cost a little bit of money, or perhaps a lot of money. So far I've shelled out $2 for one legendary hero just to see what it's all about, right? But I'm sure as the game progresses you're going to be spending far more than that. So as with anything else in the game, upgrading your heroes is of utmost importance, right? And to do that you need resources, and you earn the resources in game, or you can also purchase them, obviously, as this is a free-to-play game. So I cannot underline the importance of this enough. You have to upgrade everything in the game, otherwise you're not going to have a lot of fun, right? And I'm sure as you level to higher levels, this is going to be very difficult and expensive, and probably present a bit of a problem, right? So anyway, the tutorial kind of ends once you reach the feudal age, which invites you to start chapter 2. And once you do that, then the game will, like I said earlier, kind of kick off in earnest and let you choose which civilization you want to actually be. So there's a good selection of civilizations here, and of course not everything is included. Some of the older Age of Empires games had far more civilizations than this, but it's a pretty good start, and I'm sure more will be added as the game gets older. So you can go Chinese, French, Byzantine, Roman, British, Egyptian, and a few others. But for the purposes of this video here, and because I just like the Romans, I'm going to actually pick them. So once you pick your civilization, there is kind of a jarring jump or shift to a completely new map and a completely new pre-built starting civilization here, and that's a little bit concerning for me, because I would love to start this game with a blank map and simply build everything from scratch, but so far that doesn't seem to be available, at least so far. So as you can see, you have little tasks to do, and as you do them, upgrade walls to level 3, yada yada yada, you are given small rewards for doing that. So again, just to underline, this is a free-to-play game, right? So you can download it for free, you can play it for free, but anything of value in the game, basically, you will have to purchase. For example, legendary heroes, which I'm sure at some point you will need to progress in the game, at least at a satisfactory pace. And so far, the pricing isn't too bad, at least for these heroes here, but I'm pretty sure that's just to get people on the hook and actually invest a little bit into the game. There is, of course, a whole separate store in the game where you have plenty of opportunities to spend your hard-earned cash on all sorts of things to make your progress easier or quicker in the game. For example, speed-ups you can buy in here that'll speed up your building upgrades and construction, for example. But there's so many options, and it's pretty much par for the course in these mobile games here. Alright, so lastly, I just want to touch upon the graphics here really quickly, because like I said in the beginning, I've been playing this game here on my iPad with an M1 processor, like the 2021 iPad Pro. And I mean, it's no slouch, it's pretty fast, and other games actually run better on my iPad. But as you can see here, you can choose between 5 different detail settings, and honestly, the difference isn't that big. Of course, the textures detail goes down a bit the lower you go, but the standard setting is pretty good for pretty much anyone really. And the standard setting has that extra little cherry on the top, meaning that you can actually turn on the high frames per second mode, so you're playing at around 60 frames per second. Now hitting 60 all the time, even on standard mode, is pretty tough. My iPad wasn't able to do it, and that was a little bit disappointing actually, but I guess it is a demanding game. Now while the game runs okay in Super HD here, the frame rate is pretty low. You can see it's locked at 30. So in my opinion, I would go with standard setting, and then the 60, or about around 50, 60 frames per second. That works better for me, but your mileage may vary. So after being a little bit underwhelmed with the game's performance on my iPad Pro, I installed it on my iPhone Pro Max, and that's iPhone 14 Pro Max. And I did the same thing, and you actually get more settings in here. And in my opinion, the game runs a lot better on my iPhone, which is kind of strange. I guess the M1 processor hasn't really been, nurtured enough. Perhaps down the road, the developers will get that fixed. But you can see here the game is a lot more fluid, even on the Super HD setting. And although I end up actually putting my iPhone on the standard setting as well, I actually much prefer the game on my phone. So that was how to get started in Age of Empires Mobile. I hope you enjoyed it, and give me a comment and a like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, let me know. I will, of course, answer any comments. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you out there.